Namaskar, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, students and scholars, teachers and trainers, professors, professionals, officials, listeners, learners. I welcome all respected doctors and directors. I welcome all honorable ministers and managers. I welcome all honorable advocates, advertisers, administrative advisors. I welcome the most honorable President Modi ji. It's really nice time, nice place, nice action today. All of you are listening YouTube channel 3M Creation. It's really praiseworthy, admirable, appreciable that we are describing our different identities, varieties, diversities in the form of unity diversity. Now, Guillain-Barré syndrome outbreak claims 2 lives in MP. 9 confirmed cases detected in Nimach district. Special ward set up for patients at civil hospital SDM from Bhopal. Authorities swung into action on Sunday following the death of 2 children due to Guillain-Barré syndrome in Madhya Pradesh's Nimach district. 18 cases have been detected over the past few days, officials said. According to officials, Sonusoni, 15, and Keshav, that were 6 residents of Nimach Mansa area died due to the immunological nerve disorder, while 9 confirmed cases and 9 suspected cases are receiving treatment at various hospitals. Mansa Sub-Divisional Magistrate SDM Kiran Anjana told the Hindu that a special ward has been established at the civil hospital for new patients, while existing patients have been referred to bigger hospitals in nearby areas. Some patients have also been given to the Red Cross Society, she said. The SDMs and 2 rounds of door-to-door screenings were done in the area to detect any possible cases by deploying 15 teams of health department officials and ASHA and Anganwadi workers. About 150 people have been found with cold and cough. Officials are tracking their health updates to see if they develop any symptoms, she said. Minister holds meetings. Deputy Chief Minister Rajendra Shukla, who holds the health portfolio, visited Mansa and held meetings with district and health department officials. Is a dedicated ward specialist from the Nimak Medical College, along with ventilator operators, have been instructed to operate and manage the facility. Symptoms of the disease are the primary ways. Symptoms and disease are the primary way to identify cases. So the entire team has been conducting door-to-door surveys over the past few days. If some patients need to be referred directly to Indore to Jaipur, this team of specialists will decide that, he told reporters. The minister also said the state government was bearing the expense of treatment for all patients. Samples taken from water purification plant and other places have not been found contaminated at first glance. Samples of blood serum of patients, food items, and other materials have been sent to institutions. institutes in Hyderabad, Kolkata, and Pune for testing, Mr. Shukla said. A national joint outbreak response team is scheduled to visit from Delhi to test the contamination, a district administration official shared. Prime Minister launches 6,957 crore rupees Kaziranga corridor work. Modi lays the foundation stone for the 86-kilometer project, flags off two Amrit Bharat trains from coal-bound Assam. He accuses Congress of adding infiltrators, neglecting Kaziranga National Park. News from Guwahati, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday cited the outcome of the Bihar Assembly election and the Mumbai civic polls to claim that the Bharatiya Janata Party had become the first choice of the people in the country after laying the foundation stone for the 6,957 crore rupees Kaziranga elevated corridor and virtually flagging off two Amrit Bharat trains from wall-bound Assam's Kalibor. He also said that the Congress had lost the trust of the nation. The 86-kilometer Kaziranga elevated corridor is a four-lane national highway project which includes 35 kilometers of an elevated road passing to the Kaziranga National Park. The elevated wildlife corridor will ensure uninterrupted movement of animals and reduce human-wildlife conflict. It will also enhance road safety, reduce travel time and accident rates, an official statement shared. Mr. Modi also praised the Himant Biswa Sharma-led Assam government for stopping rhinoceros poaching in Kaziranga, the soul of Assam, and a priceless jewel of the country that he accused the Congress of neglecting. The Prime Minister also accused the Congress of handing over Assam's land to infiltrators and helping them encroach on large swathes of land and lauded the government for tracking infiltration and freeing forest and historical and cultural sites from encroachment. Stalin Institute's award for works in seven languages from Chennai. 12 detained in UP for offering Nawaz Sons permission from Bareilly. Bell strikes the right notes for RCB with a new ball from Vadodara. Bowling fast with the new ball in the 20 T20 format tends to be a double-edged sword. There is an opportunity for early wickets to be snared, but all it takes is for the bowler to land slightly in line or length for the glossy white kookaburra to travel a fair distance beyond the boundary. So far in this year, Women's Premier League, thanks to Lauren Bell's credit that she has shown the new doll to be a boon rather than a bane. The tall English pacer has done so by finding an immaculate length and giving a ball a chance to swing. It has provided stupendous results with Bell's 8 wickets in 4 games at a miserly economy of 5.31 in her maiden WPL campaign, contributing greatly to Royal Challengers Bengaluru's perfect streak of 4 wins in 4 matches. In a format where dot balls are like gold dust for the bowling unit, the 25-year-old hasn't allowed a run to be scored of 59 of the 96 deliveries she had world. The tone was set in this WPL very first encounter between RCB and Mumbai Indians on January 9 when Bell kicked off proceedings with a maiden over to Amelia Carey. impeccable in RCB's most recent victory against Delhi's Capitals on Saturday. The young seamer was unimpeccable while Smriti Mandana's knock of 96 grabbed the headlines. Bell's three scalps laid the foundation for a relatively straightforward chase. She struck twice in the very first over by casting Grace Lilly and Laura Woolward. Alcaraz Sabalenka advanced Venus was down fighting from Melbourne's top ranked Carlos Alcaraz and Arena Sabalenka launched their Australian Open title bids with straight sets wins, but there was no hairtail for 45-year-old Venus Williams on Sunday. On a hot Melbourne day, last year's men's running up Alexander Zverev dropped a set before easing into the second round. World number one Alcaraz joined him, the Spaniard wearing 81st ranked home player Adam Walton 6-3, 7-6, 6-2 on Rod Laver Arena. Alcaraz, who's the desperate to win the Australian Open to complete a career Grand Slam of all four majors, plays Germany's Yannick Hanfman next. I think this kind of level and the difficulty in the first round is pretty good for him. Said Alcaraz, who was pushed all the way in the second set. But overall, just happy and pleased about the level that I played today. Added Alcaraz, who was playing his first competitive match for 9 days. Earlier, in steamy condition approaching highs of 30 degrees Celsius, Girev threatened to implode in losing the first set to Canada's Gabriel Diallo. बीजेपी 85, शिवसेना 6, पिंपरी चिचवड़ निगम बात फंसी है। अमरनाथ में जली शिवसेना, मुंबई में फूके छाछ, बीजेपी 50, शिवसेना 53, कल्याण डोंबिवली निगम बात फंसी है। पहरे में पार्षद बीएमसी में खेल, ठाणे शिवसेना 71, बीजेपी 28, शिंदे ने देखी आग, बीएमसी में फंस गई बात। शहरी विकास मंत्रालय से सूचना जारी, मेयर चुनाव से पहले रोस्टर, 29 महानगर निगमों में मेयर पद का रोस्टर। 22 जनवरी सुबह 11 बजे लॉटरी निकलेगी। एससी एसटी ओबीसी महिला सामान्य वर्ग तय होगा। नवीन ताजपोशी, अमरनाथ में जली शिवसेना, मुंबई में फूके छाछ, बीजेपी 4, शिवसेना 3, शिवसेना 1, कांग्रेस 1, अन्य 1, किसके कितने नामित पार्षद का विवरण। पहरे में पार्षद बीएमसी में खेल, from back office to cutting edge. India emerges as hub for GCCs, the availability of a large, cheaper English-speaking IT workforce that forms to begin settling subsidiaries in the country 40 years ago. Today, multinational companies have deepened, multi-level companies have deepened their presence in this multi-billion dollar oasis in job market with at least one global capability carrying being established every week from playing a supporting role. GCCs are now shaping the business. Gayatri Subramaniam, human resource executives, Pulse. If you gave me an opportunity to go abroad, maybe I would for 1 or 2 years, but I would definitely want to come back here. This is because with the GCC boom, there are more opportunities here. When chipmaker Texas students set up shop in Bangalore in 1984, a photograph was taken at the office's doorstep of wooden crates being carefully unloaded from a bull from a bullet cart as an employee looks on. The grainy image would go on to surface in retellings of the journey of India's information technology industry for decades to come. The crates contain parts for a private satellite dish that the firm's executives would use not only to stay in touch with its headquarters in Dallas, which landlines put its headquarters in Dallas, which landlines could already do, but also transmit software called Gate capped internet access was 2 years away. Over 40 years on, the firm is often cited as one of the first global capabilities center in India. The big reason behind it taking the trouble of setting up a sophisticated communication link with its head office and opening an offshore unit accessible today. The availability of a large and cheaper English speaking IT workforce in India. There are over 1,800 GCCs in India today. According to some industry estimates, at least one GCC is being established every week in the country. The total revenue generated by GCCs in the last 5 years has grown from $40.4 billion in final year 19 to $66.6 billion in final year 24 with a CAGR compound annual growth rate of 13%. Minister of State for Electronics and IT Jitin Prasad said in a written reply in Parliament in August 2025. Means firms opening a GCC aren't exactly pinching pennies. There is little pressure to cut costs when setting up. If I look at productivity, it is 25 to 30% better because you are hiring laterals who are qualified to do the job. Smitha Abigail, co-founder and managing director, ENSR Global Sales. What we have seen post COVID-19 is almost a very rapid acceleration of global companies setting up shop in India. There has been a hockey stick growth in GCCs in the country with states eager to attract businesses. Sangeeta Gupta, Senior Vice President, NASCOM says. The current GCCs have an average of around 1100 employees. They get paid an average of 1.2 lakh to 1.5 lakh on a month. A sum of that would put most employees in the top 2% of the country, Alok Kumar, founder Inductus says. 45 साल में बीजेपी 45 साल के अध्यक्ष बीजेपी कमान संभालने वाले सबसे युवा नेता नवीन के नाम का औपचारिक ऐलान आज बीजेपी सबसे युवा कप्तान नितिन नवीन को कमान नवीन ने झंडे वाला मंदिर में पूजा की नया साल नई शुरुआत सबसे युवा कप्तान नितिन नवीन को कमान बीजेपी का सबसे युवा उद्यान बीजेपी मुख्यालय दिल्ली में खास शो एजुकेशन प्लस फैशन बियॉन्ड फैब्रिक Massimo Casagrande, cultural strategist and director of Education Institute of Marangoni Paris on what students need to do to prepare for the future of fashion. As fashion evolves beyond garments into culture, technology, and storytelling, guidance from industry leaders has never been more critical. Massimo Casagrande, fashion educator, creative consultant, and director of education at Instituto Marangoni, Paris, shares practical insights on building identity, embracing sustainability, and preparing for the future of fashion. How should young designers balance cultural identity, storytelling, and global market demands when building their brand or portfolio? Identify should be a source of clarity, not constant. I always encourage young designers to begin with an honest understanding of where their visual language comes from, their heritage, their rituals, their personal references. But identity becomes powerful only when it is translated into a narrative that a global audience can understand. The balance comes from intention. Use your culture not a costume. Select elements that carry meaning and articulate why they matter. At the same time, understand the market you want to enter, its needs, rhythms, sensitivities. When designers learn to position their stories within a broader cultural conversation, their work becomes both locally rooted and globally relevant. What are the skills that today's students must develop to survive and grow in a competitive and rapidly changing fashion industry? Curiosity and adaptability are essential. The industry changes faster than any curriculum. So students must cultivate the ability to learn, unlearn and relearn. Technical skill in technical skill is important, but mindset is decisive. Designers today need strategic thinking, the confidence to experiment, and the resilience to navigate uncertainty. They must understand materials, digital tools, cultural research, and communication, but equally they need emotional intelligence, the ability to collaborate, interpret feedback, and articulate ideas. Sustainability is no longer optional, so how can students incorporate responsible design or ethical practices without compromising creativity or commercial appeal? Responsible design should never be seen as a restriction when approached, though thoughtfully, it becomes a source of innovation. I encourage students to begin with question what materials am I choosing and why? What value does this garment add to someone's life? How does it honor craft, labor, and longevity? Sustainability isn't only about materials, it's about intention, process, and impact. Students can experiment with modularity, upcycling, digital sampling, and slow down principles without losing aesthetic expression. When responsibility is integrated from the start, creativity expands because it becomes purposeful rather than decorative. What should design institutes do to prepare students for careers in AI, digital fashion, and cross-disciplinary collaboration? Digital platforms, AI, and virtual environments will continue to evolve. So the goal is to give students a conceptual framework that allows them to navigate change confidently. We must create environments where designers learn to collaborate with technologists, coders, artisans, writers, and strategists. Passion now sits at the intersection of culture, technology, and communication. So students must become fluent in multiple languages, visual, digital, and narrative. The future belongs to creative thinkers who can move seamlessly between physical and digital worlds without losing authorship. What are the opportunities for young designers and craft people on global platforms? India has something the global industry desperately needs, that there is a richness of craft, material intelligence, and cultural memory that cannot be replicated. Young Indian designers who work with craft respectfully, not as embellishment but as a design philosophy, have a remarkable opportunity to shape new luxury narrative. To stand out, they must combine craft with contemporary design, thinking the world is not looking for nostalgic prestige. It is looking for innovation grounded in authenticity. When Indian designers articulate the story behind the craft and pair it with modern silhouette, responsible practices, and a clear aesthetic point of view, they become incredibly compelling on the international stage. What distinguishes successful designers from those who struggle after graduation? The most successful designers are consistent. They show up with curiosity, discipline, and a willingness to evolve. They are open to critique, yet confident in their vision. They understand that creativity is a practice, not a movement of inspiration. Those who struggle often rely solely on talent. Talent is the starting point, but relevance and professionalism are what sustain career. Successful designers know how to build relationships, manage time, communicate ideas, and adapt without losing their identity. Any advice for students in India who wish to pursue fashion education abroad? Look for a school that expands your perspective, not one that simply conforms it. What truly shapes your career is mentorship, diversity of ideas, and real exposure to industry. Choose a program that gives you space to experiment, access to new technologies, and a community that challenges you to think critically. Studying abroad should broaden your cultural lens and help you grow as a designer, not just change the address of your classroom. युवा शक्ति की जय। बीजेपी में नवीन अध्याय। बीजेपी का सबसे युवा कप्तान नितिन नवीन को कमान। 26 साल में विधायक, 2006-26 साल में पहली बार विधायक, 5 बार बांकीपुर सीट से विधायक, विधायक से अध्यक्ष तक 2016 2026। Amid interest burden, Telangana's total revenue receipts at 54.38% at the end of third quarter. From Hyderabad, Telangana continues its efforts to wriggle out of the burden caused by interest payment on the long-term debts, even as it achieved overall revenue receipts of 1.24 lakh crore rupees. Former MLA's decision to join BJP will not affect CPI from Iduki. Former Devikulam MLA S. Rajendran decisions to join the Bharatiya Janata Party will not affect the Communist Party of India in Iduki. Party veteran and MLA MM Mani has said, speaking to the press person, that Panikuti here on Sunday. AP to launch quantum scaling course for students from Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh, and enrolled 55,000 students on a mass quantum skilling course on quantum computing, quantum algorithms, and quiz kits to the National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning set to begin from Monday. Deviation by pilot damaged Chennai runway lights. DGCA says that the airline operator must impart training to the crew based on the probable cause from Bangalore. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation, in its final investigation report, has concluded that the pilot in command of the Star Air Flight to Bengaluru deviated from the lead line on the taxiway line. The aircraft on the runway 7 as when and initiated the takeoff roll, thereby damaging 7 runway S flights at the Chennai International Airport in February 2025. SMDP and SS Friendship Day was alliances in Kerala to recalibrate Hindu organizations representing their Ajwa and trust say they will pursue their goals without compromising their political position. From Trivandrum, Riot claimed Shinde and his partymen don't want BJP mayor in Mumbai. Riot said it Shinde's corporates are locked up in the hotel. There are different sources of communication to send and receive messages from Mumbai. Amid speculation over the Shiv Sena's move to shift newly elected members to a hotel after the Mahayuti campaign managed a narrow majority in the Mumbai civic body called Shiv Sena. MP Sanjay Raut had hinted at behind the scenes happening. Telangana Deputy CM rejects reports says he is being targeted from Hyderabad. Telangana Deputy Chief Minister Nandu Bhatti Vikramarka on Sunday strongly denied allegations carried by a Telugu daily, taking him to television news report against a woman IAS officer and a minister, asserting that he entered politics solely to ensure the state's resources reach the people and not to enjoy power or position. 2026 में अग्नि परीक्षा बीजेपी में युवा फैक्टर आज से नवीन चैप्टर नवीन ने वाल्मीकि मंदिर में पूजा की बीजेपी में अब नवीन चैप्टर राष्ट्रीय कार्यकारी अध्यक्ष 25 अध्यक्ष पद के लिए नामांकन 26 नाम का औपचारिक ऐलान बीजेपी में अब नवीन चैप्टर Martin reveals he was given 50-50 chance of survival from Melbourne. Arjun beats Pragnandhara Mukesh draws with syndrome from Vijay Anji, already a bona fide legend, and continues to chase perfection from New Delhi. BWF to continue its 25-second time clock trials to top the race from New Delhi. Susaki powers Haryana Thunders to the top from Sports Bureau and retains title with a scintillating display. The Korean bird number one proves too good for the second ranked Wang as the repeatedly sets up the Chinese, making her work for every point. Taiwanese Lin pulls off an upset victory over the high ranked Indonesian style in just 38 minutes in the men's singles summit clash from New Delhi. England's Pakistan origin players receive visa. Ball girl collapses in Australian Open heat. polyester national flags snatching away livelihood of Karnataka Khadi workers. From Hubli or Shantha Basaras, Gandham, the National Flag Manufacturing Unit at Bangeri in Hubli is not just a workplace, but a life support. Having lost her husband 9 years ago, the unit helped her eke out a living and support her two college-going children. Kailash, back to Red Fort last. How Delhi police is leveraging NACRID for investigations from New Delhi. Amid a push by the Ministry of Home Affairs to all police departments in the country to actively use the national intelligence rate, primarily intended as a counter terrorism tool. A senior Delhi police officer said the intelligence sharing platform has proved instrumental in dismantling organized crime networks. Earlier, getting information about a suspect involved seeking permission and sending requests to several agencies. Now, with that great information gathering has become much easier as all data are available on one platform. The officer told the personals the master database of NetGrid conceived after the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks contained information from at least 21 organizations. It stored information on tax records, bank accounts, financial transactions, immigration, vehicle ownership, toll payments, and train and flight bookings, among others. It also provides a single window access to FIRs registered at police stations across the country. The officers said not all law enforcement agencies have fully adopted the information sharing principle underpinning the platform, citing the November 10, 2025 Red Fort terror incident, which claimed the lives of 15 people. Details about Umar Nabi, who was killed while driving the explosives laden vehicle, were not unloaded to the platform by the police departments of two states, he said. Bringing a Kali Dal back to power will drag Punjab into dawn era, CNC from Chandigarh. Red Singh UP Hospital ward medical team carries out inspection from Noida. A team from the Department of Medical Education Uttar Pradesh visited the medical college in Noida district on Sunday after a video of rats scurrying inside the hospital went viral on the internet. Old guard should step aside when things start running smoothly from Nagpur. Union Minister Nitin Gadkari on Sunday wished for the next generation taking important responsibilities and the old generation stepping aside when things start running smoothly. Two dead, 11 hurt as speeding car hits laborers in Jabalpur. TVK chief Vijay arrives in Delhi to appear before CBI again. Stalin flags interference in Sahitya Academy by Center Institute's new literary award. Best works in Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Odia, Bengali, Marathi will receive Sarmashri Literary Award every year. The award will carry a cash prize of 5 lakh rupees for each language. Tamil Nadu CM sales from Chennai. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin on Sunday announced the institution of a national literary award for works in seven Indian languages. Speaking at the valedictory function of Chennai International Book Fair 2026, he said, owing to the interference of the Union Ministry of Culture, the event to announce the Sahitya Academy Awards 2025 was cancelled a few days ago after the list was finalized. They did not know whether the awards would be announced. Political interference in arts and literature is dangerous. Talon detained a DUP for offering namaz with permission. Without permission, the police said they took precautionary action based on information from people that a vacant house was allegedly being used as a temporary madrasa from Bareilly. The police have detained 12 people in a village in Bareilly district for allegedly offering namaz at an empty house without permission, officially said on Sunday. A video purportedly showing people offering prayers inside the house had surfaced and is being circulated on social media, they said. Bareilly Anshika Verma said police took precautionary action after receiving information from people in Mohamdaganj village that a vacant house was allegedly being used as a temporary madrasa for the past several weeks. Conducting any new religious activity or gathering without permission is a violation of the law. Strict action will be taken if such activities are repeated, she said, appealing to people to maintain peace and law and order. Police said the 12 detained persons were challan under section related to breach of peace and later produced before a magistrate who granted them bail. Efforts are underway to trace three other persons who are absconding. According to police, preliminary inquiry revealed that the vacant house belonged to one Hanif and was being used temporarily for Friday namaz. No written permission or valid documents would be produced when sought by the authorities. They shared objections by villagers. Police said some villagers had objected to the players being held regularly at the house without permission and informed the authorities, following which the people reached the spot and stopped the gathering. आज पीएम की मौजूदगी में पद संभालेंगे नया साल नई शुरुआत सबसे युवा कप्तान बीजेपी में नवीन नितिन नवीन को जेड सेट में सुरक्षा 2026 की अगली परीक्षा नितिन नवीन को कप्तान बीजेपी में युवा फैक्टर आज से नवीन चैप्टर नवीन के नाम का औपचारिक ऐलान आज बीजेपी मुख्यालय दिल्ली से आज शो Arsenal extends lead despite forest statements from Nottingham. Trends, Teddy's family turn sets up with Darbar's medal Hazari Trophy triumph from Bengaluru. Launches showdown Dragons, Tigers rally to beat Vipers from Bhubaneswar. Early special balls in vain as Kiwis script history. At least 5,000 dead in Iran, unrest says official. From Tehran, at least 5,000 people have been killed in protest in Iran, including about 500 security personnel and Iranian officials in the region said on Sunday, citing verified figures and accusing terrorists and armed writers of killing innocent Iranians. The nationwide protest erupted on December 28 over economic hardship and swelled over 2 weeks into widespread demonstrations calling for the end of clerical rule, resulting in the deadliest unrest since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. US President Donald Trump has repeatedly threatened to intervene if protesters continue to be killed on the streets or were executed in a social media post on Friday. He thanked Tehran's leaders, saying they had called absolute mass execution. Separately, Iranian authorities have said they are considering gradually restoring internet access after imposing an unprecedented communication shutdown 10 days ago, which rights groups say masked the protest kept down and that killed thousands. Syrian government seized strategic Raqqa down from Kurdish forces from Tabku since leading an insurgency to oust Assad in December 2024. Sarah had struggled to assert full control. Netanyahu objects to Gaza panel holds coalition meet from Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu convened a meeting of his ruling coalition partners on Sunday after objecting to the composition of a Gaza advisory panel formed by the White House, according to an official and media reporter. The White House announced this week the setting up of a Gaza executive board, which would operate under a broader code of peace, to be chaired by US President Donald Trump as part of his 20-point plan to end the war in Gaza. The executive board, described as having an advisory role, includes Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan and Qatari diplomat Ali Al Thwadi alongside other regional and international officials. $1 billion membership meanwhile the draft charter sent to about 16 countries by the United States administration calls for members to contribute $1 billion in cash if they want their membership to last more than 3 years, according to the document seen by Reuters. Pentagon readies 1,500 troops for possible deployment to Minnesota. Trump had threatened on Thursday to invoke the Insurrection Act to deploy military forces if officials fail to stop protesters from targeting ICE agents. Tension rose after an ICE agent fatally shot US citizen Rene Good on January 7 during a traffic stop. From Washington, the Pentagon has ordered about 1,500 active duty soldiers to prepare for a possible deployment to Minnesota, the site of large protest against the government's deportation drive, US media reported on Sunday. EU warns against Trump's tariff threat over Greenland from Brussels. European Union leaders on Saturday warned against US President Donald Trump's threat to impose tariffs on European countries until he has achieved his purchase of Greenland. Cyprus, which holds the rotating presidency of the European Council, announced an extraordinary meeting of EU ambassadors in Brussels for Sunday afternoon. US invasion of Greenland would make Putin happiest man on earth. News from Madrid. Two killed in mass Russian drone attack on Ukraine, says Zelensky from Kiev. Six dead felling trapped after fire breaks out at pass. Karachi jail from Karachi. Guatemalan inmates take over prisons, hold 46 people hostage from Ascuntla. India, Germany ties can only soar higher. A kite is the apt symbol to show where Germany's partnership with India is going. Last week, we witnessed something rather unusual. Television channels, newspapers, and social media were full of images or pictures of two very important leaders, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, flying kites together in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. It was quite a contrast to the other images of this very substantial meeting, but I actually think that the kite is a perfect symbol to illustrate where Germany's partnership, where Germany's partnership with India is going. Germany and India have both experienced strong headwinds in recent months. The eroding international trade system is a challenge for both their economies. They both watch the increasing disregard for international law and the destruction of the rules-based global order with great worry, and they both share concern on the stability in their neighborhoods. Both countries want predictable conditions. This is what they need for their people to prosper based on hard work, on inventiveness and innovation, on education and on science, but it is only in stormy conditions that a good kite flyer shows you what it is capable of, just like the India-German partnership. Crisis in education. Higher education institutions need systematic reforms. In an ongoing case relating to student suicides, the Supreme Court of India has issued 9 directions to central and state governments, recognizing the massification of higher education front-ended by privatization without a commensurate boost in quality. The court has taken note of student distress, covering financial, social injustice, and academic issues. The court has invoked Article 142 of the Constitution and 7 of the 9 directions relate to record keeping, reporting, and tracking suicides in higher education institutions separately. Two directives order the filing of the post of registrars and vice chancellors as well as all vacant faculty positions. Evidently, the court sees these steps as critical to student well-being. The split verdict in the CPIL case is about protecting honest public servants while also ensuring an efficient and anti-corruption regime. Corruption and prior section. Crash of a divided house. On January 13, a two-judge bench of the Supreme Court of India, comprising Justice B.V. Nagratna and Justice K.V. Vishwanathan, delivered a split verdict on the challenge to the constitutional validity of Section 17A of the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988 in the Center for Public Interest Litigation versus Union of India. Both judgments in this case are exhaustive, exemplifying the best tradition of the court in bestowing the deepest judicial consideration and exercise of judicial conscience to the issue before the court. The case had challenged the constitutionality of the section that effectively provided that no police officer would conduct an inquiry or investigation into any offense alleged to have been committed by a public servant regarding any recommendation made or decision taken in the discharge of official function without the prior sanction of the appropriate government. The case was mounted on the premise that corruption is anathema to rule of law and vesting the government with the power to stall corruption investigation where it may have a vested interest would allow corruption to go uninvestigated and hence unchecked. Bullying tactics, Trump's weaponization of tariff over Greenland could undermine NATO. The Trump administration, the Trump administration has vowed to slap a raft of European countries with a 10% tariff on any and all goods beginning on February 1, which is then set to increase to 25% on June 1 until an agreement is reached on the US demand to purchase or without or otherwise acquire the Denmark administered Arctic territory of Greenland. The latest round of tariffs will add to existing 15% US imposed trade duties on the country targeted by the White House, which include Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and the United Kingdom, while French President Emmanuel Macron described the US action as unacceptable. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said the move was completely wrong. The targeted nations have sent a small number of troops to Greenland for what they have called a reconnaissance mission, essentially for military exercises that signal and enforce Europe's collective commitment to defending the autonomous Arctic territory. Such emphasis by the European Union clearly reflects concern stemming from the fact that American troops recently entered Venezuela and kidnapped and transported its President Nicolas. Structuring choices behind theatrical reading of the Tamils from Chennai, the chess master and in never-ending twist from Chennai. There is no air of pretense about Vishwanathan Anand when he speaks on or off stage. The five-time world chess champion wears his stature lightly and an easy warmth accompanies him wherever he goes. Modernization has largely erased traditional ways of life in Northeast of Chennai. Literature on India's Northeast has to acknowledge the tussle between the freedom to practice people's traditional way of life and attempts to categorize, box, and label them. Author and poet Janice Elliott said across the region, there were intricate, powerful forms of oral storytelling tradition that carried indigenous knowledge and science, often dismissed as folklore, which required to be nurtured and Fourth, she added, remembering the life and times of Periyar from Chennai, historian A.R. Venkachalapati said that the tendency to was the contribution of Kerala's social reform, Narayana Guru with those of social reformer Periyar, Eva Ramaswamy, the founder of the Radical movement, was unhealthy and often used to deride and diminish Periyar. Narayana Guru's life remains relevant even 100 years later. Through said the philosopher's impact on Dalits in Kerala was arguably deeper than that of Dr. Ambedkar in northern India, says Lok Sabha member, recalling Narayan Guru's seminal contributions to the state. He said his book on the reformers is an attempt to capture essential details of his remarkable life from Chennai. Lit for Literature for Life. Cerebral games participants of a quiz during the Hindu Literature for Life and Lady Handel School in Chennai on Sunday. Audience Connect members of the audience posing questions after the screening of Wild Tamil Nadu. Young enthusiast writer Panu staff interacting with children at the venue. Indelible impression a visitor. We're writing, a visitor writing a message at the Literature for Life venue. Telangana's stunning rise and its unhinged growth. Library and Republic movement, that is all from the Delhi government's precious drafts. A display plan for the Piparwaha relics. These historical artifacts are living entities and the museum to be their new home needs to think of long-term plans to engage viewers, historians and students. After being dispersed for over a century, ancient gems charged by their proximity to the historical Buddha's corporeal image have been reunited with some other extraordinary relics excavated at Piparwaha, Uttar Pradesh. This partial reunification made possible by an Indian conglomerate's acquisition of the gems from an overseas seller and then handing it over the government. It's being celebrated by an exhibition in Delhi that Prime Minister Modi inaugurated earlier this month. How they will be housed once the exhibition closes is an urgent question. If these artifacts are carefully displayed with lessons absorbed from a study of the ancient cult of relics and with an eye to the future, then this institution restitution had potential to shift public opinion of India's beleaguered museums, set new standards for safeguarding its composite heritage, and persuade travelers from afar to circumambulate the land of the Buddha. A municipal corporation in trifurcation. Instead, the Telangana government should focus on the GHMC or problems. Translation invites readers to inhabit new linguistic world diplomacy from Chennai at the Hindu Literature for Life 2026 Diva Bhasti unpack the choices, politics and power behind translating Kannada into English. There is no such thing as proper English. That opening remark by writer and translator M.S. Basti anchored one of the sessions at the Personal for the Life 2026 titled Reimagination Stories, moderated by writer and translator Nandini Krishna. The discussion centered on M.S. Bashi's acclaimed translation of her Dam, an international Booker Prize winning collection of Kannada stories by Banu Mustan. On taste and texture. Tamil Nadu advancing brilliantly into modern age with reason. Laura Spini on the history of language and migration, writing and publishing in the age of artificial intelligence. Gods living the pain and dreams of ordinary people, says Barish Saluraj from Chennai. On verses that speak beyond language, writers log part of the process, not a painful experience, says Kiran Desai. Kiran Desai engages in a conversation with Malam Lakshmanan on love, longing, and the quick distances that shape relationships set against texture of class, culture, and displacement. Loneliness is an essential component of the vocabulary of migration, says the Booker Prize winning author. From Chennai, in a conversation with Nirmala Lakshman, chairperson of the Hindu group and founder of Literacy for Life, on Sunday, Booker Prize winning author Kiran Desai spoke about how loneliness is an essential component of the vocabulary of migration, which she chose to look at an in her 2025 Booker Prize shortlisted novel, The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny. The more people, the more lonely we are. Such a strange thing, Kiran Desai began, and perhaps how we are all suffering from being in social chains that are unraveling in the midst of change, which leaves us feeling bereft. Can the Chinese government arrest its aging problem? Why did Chinese President Xi Jinping abolish the one-child policy in 2016? Why has Beijing increased its age of retirement? What are some of the policies China is implementing to increase childbirth? How should India tackle child trafficking? What is the Palermo Protocol? How does the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023 define trafficking? How does the Constitution of India protect children from exploitation? How has the Supreme Court reacted? Why is the strong state, center-state relationship important for countering exploitation? The stories so far, child trafficking remain a deeply disturbing reality in India. The Supreme Court, in its recent decision in KP Kiran Kumar versus the state, has given strict guidelines to prevent such offences and held that trafficking grossly violates children's fundamental right to life as guaranteed by the Constitution. According to the National Crime Records Bureau in 2022, about 3,098 children below 18 years were rescued between April 2024 and March 2025. Over 53,000 children were rescued from child labor, trafficking, and kidnapping across India. However, the conviction rate for such offences between 2018 and 2022 was only 4.8%. Why? What is child trafficking? Internationally, the Palermo protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, especially women and children, 2000 defines child trafficking as the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of a child for the purpose of exploitation. Presently, Section 143 of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023 provides that whoever, for the purpose of exploitation, recruits, transports, harbors, transfers, or receives a person or persons by using threats or using force or any other form of coercion or violation or by practicing fraud or deception or by abuse of power or by inducement, including the giving or receiving of payments or benefits in order to achieve the consent of any person having control over the person recruited, transported, harbored, transferred, or received commits the offense of trafficking. The word exploitation is wide enough in its scope and includes physical and sexual exploitation as well. It also includes any form of slavery, servitude, or forced removal of organs. What are the rights of children? The Constitution extensively provides for the protection of children. Articles 23 and 24 give protection from human trafficking, begging, forced labor, and employment in hazardous industries. Apart from these provisions, the state is also obliged to ensure that children are not abused and that they are given opportunities and facilities to develop in a healthy manner and in conditions of freedom and dignity. They are protected against exploitation and moral and material abandonment under clauses E and F of the Article 39 respectively. The BNS under Section 98 and 99 especially addresses the selling and buying of minors. On the other hand, prevention of trafficking for sexual exploitation is provided in the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956. Furthermore, care, protection, and rehabilitation of victims of children of child trafficking is provided under the Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Act 2015. The Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013 also intends to change such activities by providing a more comprehensive definition of trafficking by including sexual exploitation, slavery, servitude, forced labor, and organ removal. It will cover trafficking irrespective of consent, the protection of children from sexual offences, Act 2012 assumes greater significance in this regard. Apart from defining offences covering sexual assault, harassment, and child pornography, the Act includes stringent punishments which at the area include life imprisonments and even death penalty in extreme cases. One of the most important aspects of the Act is that it is gender neutral in order to provide